Thank you. My name is Josh Mandel. I'm a state representative from the Cleveland area, Ohio. Thank you. And I'm running for state treasurer in Ohio. As I've been traveling the state, I've met a lot of folks in public office. Some of these people, by the time they're age 40, want to be United States congressmen, or by the time they're 50, want to be the governor, or by the time they're 60, want to be United States senator. I try to keep my goals relatively simple. By the time I'm 35, I just hope to be shaving. Ladies and gentlemen, and especially all you young hard chargers out there, I wanted to tell my story of how I came to be standing here this morning. When I was a senior at Ohio State, I decided to join the United States Marine Corps. Shipped off to Parris Island, South Carolina in the year 2000, came back to the Cleveland area, and was in a reserve unit. I was going to law school there. And my third year of law school, there was an opening on our city council in a town called Lyndhurst. I decided to run for city council, and I was told, listen, kid, you're too young. Wait your turn. I didn't like that as a reason why not to run. And I know from Steve's comments, he doesn't like that either. So I went out there, bought a new pair of shoes, started knocking on doors, knocked on every door in the community, stood on their doorstep, and stood on principle and was elected to the city council. Got sworn, thank you. Got sworn in, and shortly thereafter was activated to do my first tour in Iraq with the Marines. In 2004, we were in Anbar province. Came back from Iraq, and as my first piece of legislation upon returning, I felt that I wanted to introduce a piece of legislation that had meat on the bones that would impact our community. So I introduced legislation to reduce the property taxes in our community. And the other councilman said, listen, Josh, you can't actually lower the taxes. That's not possible. And I went out there, did my homework. Instead of taking a political approach, took an intellectual approach, worked with our finance director and our bankers and different experts in our community. And I came back to these councilmen and said, listen, we can do this. We can keep our community on sound financial footing and also give some property tax relief to our citizens. And these other councilmen, they said to me, listen, Josh, we're going to embarrass you. We're going to vote this down 1-6. Do not proceed. So I'm not one to back down from a fight. And I took out my notepad from the notes I took on people's doorsteps, and I made about 1,000 phone calls. Asked people to come to a little Lyndhurst City Council meeting where the same 8 people show up every other week. And at this little Lyndhurst City Council meeting with those same 8 people show up, we had over 300 people show up at this city council meeting. And one by one, they got up there at the public comment section of the meeting, and they said to the other councilmen, we want you to lower our taxes. We want you to vote for Councilman Mandel's proposal. And instead of that vote being 1-6, as was promised to me, it ended up being 6-1. And I'd submit to you that this little Lyndhurst City Council meeting in many ways was a precursor to a lot of these tea parties we see happening around the state of Ohio and the country, where citizens who've never been politically active, who aren't necessarily Republicans or independents or Democrats, just people who believe in our country, believe in freedom, believe in the principles of economic freedom, want to come out and take their country back. I've been proud to speak in Democratic-rich areas throughout Ohio at these tea parties, where in Cleveland on President Reagan's 99th birthday, we had almost 1,000 people. In Dayton, Ohio, we had 5,000 people. In Youngstown, Ohio, 500 people. Canton, Ohio, 1,000 people. And throughout our state and country, people want to take our country back. So in 2006, I decided to run for the State House of Representatives in an interesting district. The district is approximately 2-to-1 Democrat to Republican. About half the district is represented in Congress by Dennis Kucinich. And I went to some of the leaders in my area, and a lot of them said to me, listen, Josh, you can't win this district. And then some other folks said, listen, Josh, you're too young, kid. Wait your turn. So I went out there and bought another new pair of shoes. And in 2006, started knocking on doors in the snow in February, and knocked on approximately 19,679 doors. Wore out 3 pairs of shoes, and with the help of people like yourselves, people who believe in freedom, who believe that families and businesses should keep more of their hard-earned dollars than giving it up to the government, knocking doors with me, standing by my side, licking envelopes, making phone calls, was able to get elected. So when I got down to Columbus, the State House, I decided I wasn't there to keep my mouth shut, and I wasn't there to bide my time. I was there to stand on principle. And I've been proud to be a leader at our State House. I'm proud to stand with people, including legislators like Jimmy Stewart, who's in this audience with me today, and other legislators, to stand for these principles and to advocate for these principles and to move our state and our country forward, and to do it with a lot of young people by our side. You know, thank you. A lot of people, including those in the media, want us to believe that it's a waste of time to go spend time on college campuses and to talk with young professionals in their 20s and 30s, and I think the opposite. I think what we need to do as a movement is spend a lot of time on college campuses, spend a lot of time with young professionals, engaging and motivating them to get active and get involved. So in 2007, in the middle of my first term, the Marine Corps asked me to go back to Iraq as part of the surge. And I had a decision on my hands because I was a legislator and felt a duty to my constituents, but also felt a duty to my country, and decided that I didn't join the Marine Corps to say no when my country called. So in 2007, I volunteered to go back to Iraq. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Went back to Iraq as part of the surge, and from the time I was there in 2004 to the time I was there in 2007 and 2008, saw great progress. Came back from Iraq in 2008, got married, and in my re-election battle, my opponent's campaign team decided to attack me for being an absentee legislator. Leveling the charge that I was absent from my duties to the State House because I was in Iraq. And in this district that's 2-to-1, Democratic to Republican, that Dennis Kucinich represents about half of it in Congress, people came out. They came out. Republicans, Democrats, and independents came out and re-elected me with over 70% of the vote.